That is the truth. We are the light of the world. And I just want to really hit this. I know we have coming up a huge weekend for us at church. Next Sunday and Saturday, we have what we call Taco Weekend. Now, if you don't know what Taco Weekend is, let me explain it to you. We give away free tacos. That's enough said. No, but we have, actually, it's called T-shirt and Taco Weekend. We give away both. If someone volunteers to serve somewhere, they get a T-shirt. And then everyone, we have a street taco guy. Who's ever had a street taco? Anybody ever had one? Who has never had a street taco? Okay, if you're scared, I promise you, they are amazing. And I have traveled all over the city, all over, suffering for the Lord to find the best street taco in town. He was actually voted the best street taco in town, so I probably should just went and looked that up and then went. But to find the best street taco in town, it's a gentleman named Cesar, has the street truck. And I tell you what, too, he is not going to bring these. Who has ever had a beef tongue taco? Anybody ever had a beef tongue taco? Okay, who had a beef tongue taco and did not like it? Really? It's because you thought it was tongue. Yeah. If you don't know, we got my 6-year-old and my 9-year-old son, and I was like, we're going to buy, it's called lingua. Is that right? Who speaks Spanish? Did I say that correctly? And over there, okay. And I said, you're going to eat one. And they were like, okay, we'll eat one. Well, from now on, that's all they want to get. It is that good. We won't have those next week, so don't worry about it. But it's a great time to invite people. Let me say this. You want to hear craziness about Taco Sunday? Taco Sunday last year was bigger than Easter for us. We had more people come and give their life to Christ on Taco Sunday than we did on Easter. So we have a great chance to be light in a dark, dark world. You just saw the scriptures up there. Jesus said this. He said, we are the light of the world, a city upon a hill that cannot be hidden. This is part of who we are. And as we talk today, we're going to take a second and look at how we are called to be the light of the world. If you're taking notes, you can write this down. Here's the first thought is we were created, everybody in here, we were created to be light. We were created to be light, every one of us. When God made us, He made us to be His children, but He also made us to be light. We were designed and created to be light. That first part of that verse, in verse 14, it says, you are the light of the world. You notice there it doesn't say you might be, or you will eventually grow in your relationship with God enough to be. It just says you are the light of the world. Now everybody look up here. If you've given your life to Christ, you're the light of the world. If you surrendered your heart to Jesus, you are the light of the world. Okay, let me put this way. You are the only hope the world has to come to know a loving Savior. You are the light of the world. It's part of our DNA as a follower of Christ. It's part of our job description as a follower of Jesus to be light to the whole world. Think about this. If that wasn't our job, whenever we gave our life to Christ, what would happen? We would go immediately to heaven. We would just, Jesus, here's my heart. And be like, yeah, come up with me. And we'd be transported to heaven. That's not what happens, is it? Who wished that would have happened? Who would have to deal with problems or with it? No. I don't wish that would have happened because then hundreds of people that I've been able to have contact with. And for each one of us, think of how many people we can make a difference in their life because we are called to be the light of the world. We're called to be light where light doesn't shine. That is what we are called and destined to do. The problem is many times we're like, well, how I have trouble being light. Anybody else? Sometimes I have trouble being light. What does that mean, and what does that look like to be light? I love what Ephesians 5:8 says. It says, for you were once darkness. It doesn't say you once lived in darkness. It says, for you were once darkness. Did you know that? Before Christ, we were darkness in the world. But then it goes on and says, but now you are light in the Lord. How many know light is better than darkness? He says, you were darkness, but now you're not darkness. Now you are light. 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 16 through 18 says, but whenever someone turns to the Lord, the veil is taken away. Now there's this veil over our eyes, something that we don't see, that when we are not following Christ, that it keeps us from it. It's just like this veil over our face. The Bible also references a veil when you talk about Moses in the Old Testament, that Moses would go up to be with the Lord, and he went up to the mountain to hang out with God. When he had to came back down, they said they had to put a veil over his face because the glory of God was shining on him so much that it scared everyone around him. Here, you know, that's what's supposed to happen with us. They're supposed to see God in us. It goes on and says, verse 17, for the Lord is the Spirit, and wherever the Spirit is, the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. How many like freedom? It says, for the Lord is the Spirit, and wherever the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Whenever we give our life to Christ, we get set free. Let's go ahead and keep reading. It says, so all of us who have had the veil removed, those who have given their life to Christ, can see and what? And reflect. Everybody get that? That's an important part. That they can see and reflect the glory of the Lord. Now, I think this is a key because we're like, how can I be light? How can I be light? How can I be light? Because I don't feel like light most of the time. Anybody ever know? I mean, I feel like when I have a bad day, when I'm down, sometimes with the way I act, I don't feel like light all the time. Here's the deal. It's not our number one job description is to reflect His light. Everybody grab hold of that. That is our job, is to be a reflection of Jesus' light to this world. My wife was telling me this morning, we were talking about the reflection of light. Who loves it at night when you can look up and see the moon, just a beautiful moon that's shining? I'm a dude, but I still like it. I'll look up, I'm like, man. I'll walk out sometimes and I'm like, man, the moon is bright today. And sometimes where it seems bigger, it's a full moon. Or there are times, how long ago was it, when it seemed like it was so close and it was just shining incredibly bright? Did you know the moon in itself has no ability to create light? The moon doesn't create light. Do you know what the moon is? The moon is a reflection of the sun's light. Right. Guess what we are supposed to be? We are supposed to be a reflection of the sun's light. Amen. Not the sun in the sky that'll give you a tan or a burn. The sun who died on the cross to give us life. And so we are supposed to be a reflection of His light. That's what our life is supposed to look like. Do you know, when the closer you get, I was going to do this, and I didn't have it, but I had a mirror, and I was going to get a flashlight, and I was going to have it close, and I was going to show the reflection. You know, when you get a flashlight close, it reflects and has a broader spectrum. But if I put it way back in the back, you might not even hit the reflection, because the farther it is away, the less the strength and the power of the light to be reflected. Some of you in here are like, well, I don't reflect very well. I'm not a very good light. Here's what I would say. Get closer to the sun. Everybody out there, who's awake today? Anybody out there awake? If you want to reflect light more, if you want to be the light you're called to be, you were created to be, you were destined to be, get closer to the sun. Because the closer to the sun you are, the greater reflection that you will be. It is hard to be a nasty, mean jerk whenever you're close to the sun. Just the other day, I got convicted of this. I have two younger sons that talk all the time. Anybody ever been in the car with a kid that can't stop talking? And I take them somewhere, and it's just like it never stops. They talk, and sometimes, huh? That's her. She goes, welcome to my world. That is her world. So, yeah. They just continually talk. And so finally one day I was in the car with them. I took them off her hands. I'm like, guys, run some errands with me. And we're running errands and blah, 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 blah. That's why I think someone should invent that thing you can press where like the window comes up between you and the kids and you can't hear them. You can see and make sure they're safe, but you can't hear them. Well, I don't have one of those yet. And if someone invents one of those, I get partial share because it was my original idea. But no, they were talking. And I said, hey, guys, can you be quiet for a little while? I'm trying to think. Hey, guys, can you be quiet? Hey, guys, traffic's real bad right now. I don't want you to talk during, who likes people to be quiet when you're like in a crazy traffic? Like, hey, guys, traffic's real bad. Can you be quiet? No. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah. And I lost it. I got mad. And I was like, well, you two just shut up. How many know that is not a great reflection to my sons about the light of Christ? So I had to back up, and I was like, Lord, forgive me. And I had to stop the car and tell my boys, would you forgive me? And once again, when I asked for forgiveness, what did I do? I allowed myself to get closer to the sun. Sometimes my wife calls me on, well, all the time, my wife will call me on it. She's like, you know, you don't need to lose your temper with them. And I thought about this from the standpoint of parenting, but really, I'm called to be a reflection of Christ to my kids, even greater than I am to be a provider of all the things they need physically. Anybody out there? We are called to be light. Let's make a decision that we will be. Here's the second thought. If you're taking notes, you can write this down. Our light was made to shine and not be hidden. Our light was made to shine and not be hidden. Matthew 5, verse 14 and 15, it says, a city on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. What do? Instead, they put it on its stand. Did you know light is not designed to be hidden? It is designed to be exposed and to show. But my question would be this. How many people today in our country, how many people today in our city, how many people today within a mile or two of where we're at right now are in church right now, and they are created and designed to be the light? But tomorrow morning or even today when they leave church, they will go to restaurants and they will go to work tomorrow, and the last thing in the world they will be is light. Because we go, I tell you, I used to work on Sundays. I worked at Mazzio's on Sundays, and I hated working the Sunday shift. I would rather work Saturday night with drunk people than Sunday after church. That's the truth. I would rather work with the drunk people than I would because they tip better. And the church people were cheap, and they were nasty, and they were demanding, and they were mean. If you ask people, who's ever worked on a Sunday morning waiting tables, who really enjoyed the church crowd? Not many people enjoys the church crowd. How many know that is ridiculous? That we are called to be light. Man, they should be volunteering for, actually they should say, no, I'm going to church after a while, but the people who don't know Christ should volunteer for Sunday morning because we should be the most generous and loving and kind and compassionate and patient. Yet many times we're the biggest jerks. Because we hide our light. Well, my light's here. Woo, I love you, Jesus. I love you, Jesus. But I'll go to the store and be an idiot. Or I'll get in the car and I'm going to, listen, we hide our light. God never designed our light to be hidden. He designed our light to be shown to the whole world. Yet all of us at different times hide our light. I talked about it with my kids. Sometimes I hide my light with my anger or with my frustration or with my lack of patience. But if I get closer to the sun, it helps to remedy that. Look at Philippians chapter 2, verse 14 through 16. Now, I was a youth pastor. Kim and I were youth pastors about 15 years. This was my youth camp verse. This was my mission trip verse. Anytime we would go on a trip somewhere, I would use this verse. I would get up in front of our teenagers and I was like, here's the verse we're going to memorize before we get on the bus. And I would sit there and we would have to recite it and say it. And here's the verse that we need to remember and memorize as a church. Do everything without complaining and arguing. Well, that's a tough one, isn't it? Do everything without complaining and arguing. Why? So that no one can criticize you. Live clean, innocent lives as children of God, shining like what? Bright lights. Shining like bright lights in a world full of crooked and perverse people. See, we were created to be bright lights. We were created to be light that would shine, that people could see. But how many times do we hide our light under a bowl? And that bowl, what does a bowl look like for us? Maybe a bowl looks like for us anger. Boy, I let my light shine, but they did not bring my food out in time. I know that is little and inconsequential compared to being light. You know what? I would be light, but you know what? That person hurt me, and I can't forgive them because of my hurt and my bitterness. It's a bowl that we put over our light. You know what? I would be light, but I'm worried about the future that's a bowl that we put over our light. I would be light, but you know what? When I'm playing these guys that don't know Christ and I'm playing them in a sport, man, I kind of leave Jesus on the sideline because I'm all about winning. I'm preaching to me right now, in case anybody was wondering. Because I'm about winning. And when I win, I will talk smack. And when I lose, I'm going to make an excuse and say they did something they didn't really do. When that puts a bowl over my light. We were created to be light in a dark world. We were not created to be darkness. I have a question in your notes right there, and I just want you to think about it. What are some things in your life and in my life that keep our light from shining? I mean, personally, what are some things we do that keep our light from shining? You know what I think we do many times? Is I think once we get into a place where people aren't followers of Christ, we just try to blend in. We try to blend in. We're like, I don't want anybody to notice. I don't want to stand out. I don't want to. Everybody look up here. As a follower of Christ, you were created to stand out. You were designed to stand out. You are supposed to be different. Remember when I first got saved, I used to be the guy in the back telling the bad jokes. I worked at this job while I went to college, or I remember in the dorm room, I was the worst guy. And I'll be honest, when I first started, I went from a transition of not telling those jokes or saying those words to a transition of just listening to them to a transition of leaving when they started to talk about things that didn't glorify God or that took my light away. And they would start to tell a bad joke, and I was like, hey, guys, I'm going to go in here and get back to work. I didn't put them down. I didn't say, you bunch of jerks telling dirty stuff, because I was the jerk telling dirty stuff just a few months before. I was like, hey, guys, I'm going to go back to work. And you would hear him talking. Man, he always leaves when we talk like this. And you know what started to happen? They started to respect my decisions. And they started to see light in me. And instead of me ripping them apart, you shouldn't say, when I'd get together and talk to them, I would just show them love and compassion. And I didn't even know what I was doing, but I was just getting closer to the sun, and his light was reflecting. See, we can make a difference if we just make a decision that we will let our light shine, and we will make a choice to be different because we were created to be different. Proverbs 4, verse 18 says this, the path of the righteous is like the first gleam of dawn, shining even brighter till the full light of day. Who wants to be like that? The path of the righteous, our path is like the first gleam of dawn, like the sunrise. When darkness is there, then all of a sudden the sunrise comes, and you're like, wow, this is amazing. This is amazing. I have the privilege of, I don't know if it's a privilege, I love to hunt. I love to hunt. And so when you hunt, I hunt deer, and so I go into the woods, and I have to be there before the sun rises. And so I'll sit there for an hour. You have guys that show up right after the sun rises with a gun. They walk out with no deer. But I get there like an hour before the sun even rises, and I sit there for a long time, and I just sit there in complete darkness. And then I love it when you can see the sun start to rise. And it is just beautiful. That's what we're supposed to be. Some of you complain all the time about your job. Well, I'm just around a bunch of heathens. Yes. Yes. I have to work around a bunch of Christians. It stinks. I mean, I love them. They're great. I mean, they're great people. But they're going to heaven. They're going to heaven already. I want to get a job somewhere. No, I'm keeping this job, by the way. So I go to Walmart and just hang around. Or I go to a convenience store, although I've stayed away the last week. Give me a 5. I haven't drank a pop since last Wednesday before. 10 days. Woo, woo. And it's like my celebration. That's old school right there. Raise the roof. And so I have to find a different way to let my light shine. But our lights were created to shine, to be the brightness of dawn. Here's the next thought. Our light shine through our lives. Now, right beside lives, get a pen and write down actions. Our lives shine through our lives, our actions, our deeds. That's how our light shines. Matthew 5, verse 16, it says, in the same way, let your light shine before men, that they may see your, what? Your Christian t-shirt? They may see your church bumper sticker, which we don't have, but we need to get. That they may see your CommonGround shirt, which we're giving out next week. But that's not what they're supposed to see. It's okay if they see that, but if that's all they see, take the t-shirt off and turn it back in. Take the honk if you love Jesus bumper sticker off. If all they see of Jesus is the honk. Honk, honk, yeah. They want to see our actions. It says in the same way, verse 16, this is Jesus saying this. Okay, now there's a big teaching now that we don't have to have actions. Don't have to have actions. We live by grace, don't have to have actions. Live by grace, don't have to have actions. I believe we live by grace, but I believe if we're living by grace, which means God gives us something we can't ever earn or deserve, but I believe if we live by grace, actions follow what we live. And so if I'm living for Christ and my heart is His, my actions follow. If my heart is His, my actions follow. If I love this lady on the front row, who is my wife, by the way, right there, wave your hand. That is my wife. If I love her, if I truly, truly love her, my actions follow. Everybody get that? If I treat her like trash, that shows I don't love. Well, I love you, baby, but I treat you like trash. No, you don't love her. Quit lying to yourself and to her. Because you show your love greater than your words by your actions. And a follower of Christ, how will they know? How will they see our light? Not just by the words we say, because the words we say mean nothing if our actions get rid of our words. See, many times we say stuff, you just come to church with me, but then we act just like the world. We don't show love. We don't show compassion. We don't do all these things that we're supposed to do, that Christ calls us to do. Our words mean nothing if our deeds are not there. Our lives may be the only sermon that many people hear and that many people see. Our lives may be the only sermon that many people see or many people hear. Let's let our lives be lived that way. Perfect? No. But on a journey to be as close to the Son as we can. Matthew chapter 25, verse 35 and 36 says this. How do we let our light shine? It says, "For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." Let's add a few from 2014 in there. I was out of gas, and you bought me some gas. I was sitting alone at lunch with no friends, and you showed me love and compassion and sat down beside me. I was hurting because of a divorce or separation I was going through, and you were there for me and for my kids. We are called to be the hands and the feet of Jesus. This last Friday, we had men's poker night at our church. We don't play for money, we just play for fun. By the way, it was incredibly fun this Friday night because I won. Amazingly fun. Before, we were going to get pizza because we have food for the guys to eat. And I was going to get pizza, and as I was going to get pizza, I walked outside the door. And as I walked outside the door, there were 6 teenagers that were walking through our parking lot. The rule that I have around here is if you go in our parking lot, you go to our church. And I'd never seen these kids before, but I don't care. And so I walked up to them and just started a random conversation with them. I was like, "Hey, how are you guys doing? You guys like tacos?" That's actually how I started the conversation. "You guys like tacos? You guys like tacos?" They're like, "Yeah, I like tacos." And I'm like, "Do you like street tacos?" And then this girl started naming all the different ones in Spanish. I'm like, hold on. And so I started talking to him. She's like, "Do you have tacos right now?" And I'm like, no. I said, "Not this Sunday, but next Sunday we have tacos, and I'll give you some free tacos." And she was like, "Well, what do you have right now?" And I said, "Well, wait, we have tacos then." I said, "The Wednesday after that, our youth group's having free pizza. So on Sunday we have free tacos, on Wednesday we have free pizza." She goes, "What do you have right now?" And I said, "I don't know what we have right now. The building is under construction." And so I remembered from youth group on Wednesday we had cupcakes that were left over. Shannon always brings us cupcakes. So we had these cupcakes that were left over, and they'd been sitting there, and they had a cover on them, but they were covered in dust I don't know if you noticed, our floors are grinded down, so they were covered in dust. I was like, "We got cupcakes, come on over." And they came inside, and we walked inside, and I grabbed the thing and threw the dust off of it. I'm like, "There's some cupcakes." They did not bat an eye. They just started grabbing cupcakes. And they're eating these cupcakes. And this one little girl asked what her name was, and she lied to me. She goes, "My name is Mary." And so I keep calling her Mary, and she looks at me and she goes, "My name's not really Mary." And I'm like, "What's your name?" And she told me her real name. I'm like, "Can I trust you?" And she's like, "Yes." And so she's eating her cupcake, and I'm just talking to him, and we're having a good time. And then the girl who lied to me and called her name Mary, she looks at me and she goes, "This seems like a pretty cool church. I think we'll come." And she just looked at all of her friends and she goes, "Let's come, we'll get some tacos." And she goes, "You got any more cupcakes?" Like, "Take all the cupcakes, little girl." And she's like, "No, I'm just kidding." They walk through a parking lot, and I had a choice to make. I had to go get pizza for the guys. They can wait. Because we were created to be light. And God will set up, everybody listen, God will set up divine appointments in our life for us to be light. 3 years ago, maybe 4, when we first moved in here, had a girl walking through the parking lot, dragging 3 kids with her. Single mom. And I went out and I was like, hey, it was winter, it was December. How are you doing? I'm doing okay. And I said, do you need something? She's like, well, we don't have much food. And so we got her some food. And it's like, I was looking at her with the kids, and I said, do you have Christmas presents this year? I said, do you have anything to buy these kids for Christmas? It's like a week away from Christmas. She looked at me, she started crying. She said, I have nothing to give them. And I said, we will change that. And that year we bought those kids presents and we showed them love. And that girl came that following Sunday. She gave her life to Christ. And she's here all the time now, unless she has to work on Sunday. Because our love and our light was meant to be shown through our lives and our actions. For a long time, I didn't want to be a Christian because I saw the actions of Christians. Anybody here else ever been there? I saw their actions, and I'm like, don't want to be like them. Let us change that. And let us be light. And let us be light. Here's the last point, is this. Our light attracts a lost world. Anybody with me? Who in here wants to be light? Okay, no, that's pretty bad. Who in here wants to be light? I'll tell you, if you don't have the guts to raise your hand in church, I'm just going to be straight with you. I just don't know. I don't know. If you don't have the guts to raise your hand in church to be light, you're not going to be light out there. You're not. If you can't be light among light, you're not going to be light in darkness. Who in here wants to be light to a dark world? Who? Okay. Okay. Well, let's be light. Let us be light. Isaiah chapter 60, verses 1 through 3. I love this. It says, arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. See, darkness covers the earth, and thick darkness is over the peoples. See that? Who thinks we live in that world today? See, darkness covers the earth, and thick darkness is over the peoples. But the Lord rises upon you, and His glory appears over you. Then look at this. And nations will come to your light, and kings to the brightness of your dawn. We were created and designed to be a reflection of His light. And what will happen? Nations will come to the light, and kings to the brightness of our dawn. God will give us such influence because we make the choice to not blend in with the world, but to be light in the world. We push inviting people to church. How many of you have ever noticed that? We push that. Yeah, can I give you a reason why? I found a statistic that 82% of people, I think you're going to put it on the screen, 82% of people say they would likely come to church if someone they knew invited them. 8 out of 10 people say they would come to church if someone they knew invited them to come. Who in this room knows someone whose heart is far from God? Who in this room knows someone who is not going to church, not connected into a body? Who in this room knows someone like that? Raise your hand. Who knows someone? If you don't, you need to make some new friends or meet your neighbors. 80% of Tulsa did not go to church anywhere today. Yet 82% say they were likely to come if someone they knew would invite them to come. They say they would come if someone they knew would just invite them to come. CommonGround Church, we live in a world full of darkness. We live in a world full of darkness, yet God wants us to be the light. My question to everyone in this room is, who will be that light?
I will.
Who will be that light in a dark world? Let us pray. Lord, let us be the light. Everybody stand up on your feet. Lord, let us be the light. Lord, let us be the light in a dark world. Lord, let us be the light where the world has no light. Lord, we complain about the world being full of darkness like it's a horrible thing. It's a great opportunity. Light shines brighter in darkness. And I pray for people in this room who have jobs where they're surrounded by people who don't know you, or people who say they know you, but they're not living for you. Let us be light in a dark world. God, let us make a decision and say, I will. Who's willing to do that? All across the room. Who's willing to do that? Go ahead and turn the lights back on. We're going to finish with a song. We're going to finish with a song. It's a song I asked Colin to write for our youth group. I preached a message the last month in our youth group called I Will. That I will make a difference. My life, it starts about I will love the Lord. I will love my neighbors. I will tell the world about Christ. I will make my life make a difference. We had with our teenagers, we gave away over 2,500 invite cards. There's about 40 or 50 teenagers. We gave away 2,500 invite cards. We gave away all of our taco cards. They were all gone. So I told them to order 5,000 more. Because I figured if 40 or 50 teenagers can take 2,500 and give them out. We got one girl, she's given out 200 already in her school. She just passed them out everywhere she goes. She's just going everywhere and she's just inviting people and making a difference. I'm like, you know what? That is so sad that 500 or 600 adults can't beat 50 or 60 teenagers. That is horrible. Okay, they don't have an advantage. No, they don't. Go meet some people. Go to the store. Go somewhere. They don't have an advantage just because they go to school. There's a bunch of people. It's ridiculous. How many know you can go somewhere where people are? You can go somewhere where people are. And so we have 5,000 invite cards that are in buckets out in the lobby. Now here's what I want to say. Who in this room knows someone who doesn't know Christ? 82% of people are likely to come to church if we just invite them to come. And what happens when they come in? I'll tell you what happens. Most of them, a high percentage of them, give their life to Christ. If we would just make a choice to be light. Here's what else I want to say. I want us, and I want you guys and myself to lead them to Christ before they even get here on Sunday. That we would be light, and we would just celebrate changed lives. Who can do that? Lord, make us light. We're going to sing this song, I Will, and it's a prayer. It's a song that's a prayer to go into the world and be light. Let's be light. Lord, thank you that we would be the light of the world. Lord, let us make a decision to say, I will do it in Jesus' name.